shades of pink and white. That's where you're getting your hail. Intense hail, large hail, 2 inches or greater diameter, golf ball size or greater, that would be able to cause damage, obviously shatter some windshields. We've had reports, these storms have had history of the hail damage, and I'm sure out of that bright stuff right there, that's what the radar is detecting, and out of this too, there's probably some hail there and some hail there, and of course, the heavy rainfall out ahead of it. Very, very heavy rainfall out ahead of it. Now the jet stream is literally shearing the top off out ahead of it, so this is all really heavy rain just to the north of Worcester, and you're probably getting into some really dark clouds now in Framingham and Wayland and Sudbury on up toward Bolton and Hudson, and maybe even a little light rain. And if you listen closely, you can hear the lightning off in the distance too. So you probably have about a half an hour. Jonathan, Lisa, you have a question?
Yeah, Todd, we figured we'd give you a couple seconds because I know you've got to update yourself all the time going into the Weather Center. So in that time that you're doing that, we're talking to some folks on the phone about what they're seeing, what they're witnessing, what they're experiencing.
Bob Germano joins us on the phone now from Agawam. And Bob, I understand you actually saw one of these tornadoes.
Yes, I did.
Can you describe it for us?
Actually, all I saw was just like a cloud coming down. And they said people by the bridge had their car parked. There was a guy and a girl, and they were looking, they were pointing. I looked up, and the cloud was like no more than a couple hundred yards up above my head in my car. And by the time I got up on top of the hill over in West Springfield, it got real, real windy. So I made a U-turn and come all the way back, and it actually went through, I wish I knew the name of the street.
That's all right.
It's right over by, you go over the bridge over in Agawam.
Wow. Stay down there for the next hour.
But by the scoreboard, the bar.
Yeah, what were you hearing? What were you seeing? Did you get a little concerned? I mean, did you know this was going on? Did you know there was a warning out?
No, I did not know there was a warning out.
So what were you hearing and seeing?
All I basically saw was just the wind blowing real hard, and it just rained a little bit, not much though.
So you're saying when you noticed this cloud, the other conditions were not that dramatic. In other words, it wasn't pouring, there wasn't hail in the area. More than anything, it was this ominous cloud.
It's exactly, yes. I said to myself, boy, this cloud's real low. I wonder why. It never dawned on me. Then I looked on the other side of the cloud. I noticed it was like a redness in the sky.
Yeah, it's kind of a scary situation, especially when you don't know there's warnings going on. Now that you know warnings, hopefully you're somewhere. Well, the storm is past you now. It's moved beyond you.
Yeah. I'm over here in Agawam now.
Now, is there any damage that you can see? Is there any debris around? Have you been able to?
Where I am and where it landed is probably 2/10 of a mile, if that. And there's branches on the road in front of my barber shop. But on the other street that's over, it's really big trees come down. I mean, real big trees, not just big trees. Going over that bridge I was talking about, going into West Springfield, there's a bunch of trees on the riverside. I believe that would be the Westfield River, if I'm not mistaken, right? All along the river by the old Strathmore Paper Company, there was a bunch of branches that come off, parts of trees come off in half. They were either on the bridge, got blown on the bridge, or they went underneath the bridge in the water.
Yeah, Bob, we're actually looking at some pictures from our affiliate in Springfield of all kinds of debris, and it looks like the cloud that you've described to us. By the time you got up there on that hill, could you see any of the damage? Could you see any of the debris, or had by that point the cloud moved on?
No, see, the one you guys are seeing, if I'm not mistaken, right, that is on the Connecticut River.
I think you're right, yes.
The Westfield River.
Okay. You're on the other side of Springfield.
To the Connecticut River.
I think we are seeing that cloud, though, and that it just shut out half the sky, or so it looked.
This cloud didn't seem to be all that big, to be quite honest with you. I don't recall it being such a big cloud. I couldn't see anything else.
No,
I could see the cloud was probably, looking at it, probably maybe 100 yards, maybe, if that in diameter, if that big.
Yeah, and a lot of people have gone through Agawam, lots of folks going down there to the amusement park, and I'm just wondering, are you hearing reports of any other greater damage, anybody that's been seriously hurt by anything that's happened down there?
No, I know in West Springfield, going over the bridge into Springfield, not the one that goes into Agawam, they have an 18-wheeler that flipped over.
Yeah, we saw that.
Okay, I didn't know.
Well, listen, Bob Germano, we appreciate you taking the time. He's giving us a call from Agawam to give us sort of an update of what he's seeing there. We appreciate that. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you. Bye now.
And we're keeping in touch with people throughout the area now, including the spotters, who are telling us that there is significant damage as well in Wilbraham tonight because of these storms that have blown through the area. You saw Todd's radar This is a line of severe weather that will be in Massachusetts at least until 8 o'clock tonight.
And Bob said something that's troubling. He didn't know there was a warning that's going on, and that's something that you really can fix. If you're at the TV and you've got friends that are in Western Mass that are ahead of this storm, give them a call. It doesn't cost you much. You could just give them a little heads up, and for all you know, they don't know this is happening. Maybe they're outside with their kids. Maybe they're doing something. They need to take cover. They need to get shelter because this is a serious storm. It clearly is a very destructive storm as well, and you'd hate to think that you could have made that call and perhaps save a friend of yours or any despair. Just get them out of the way. Get them to shelter for this.
And the question tonight, and the question for the foreseeable future, will these storms and the cells that you're seeing here on radar hold their strength? At least the one on the upper end appears to have picked up some strength in the last half hour. These were supposed to dissipate to some degree as they move toward Boston. The question now, will that happen? They're beginning to move into Metro West. We understand there is a tornado warning up for Framingham. We're obviously going to continue to watch these. Todd's getting new information as well. But that's the real question tonight. Will these hold their strength and produce more damage, or are we going to have primarily hail and wind throughout the area?
And you said it, and that's the part that's the scariest part of this, is we're watching dual storms. Those are two cells right there, and that's the problem right now, is they have been kind of not decreasing at all, Todd. They actually have been gaining strength, and that's really what you worried about from the beginning.
Yeah, this is the scary part of this whole thing. These storms are not weakening, especially this one, which is where we have seen in its wake such destruction back through Springfield. This one is showing no signs of weakening right now. It's a mature supercell with a tornado on the ground. You don't often see such a defined storm like this here in the Northeast. Just in the last couple of weeks, we've been seeing pictures of tornadoes, and here back in the Northeast, we've been monitoring the Midwestern radars. And this is what the storms out there look like. They look like well-defined supercells with large F3 tornadoes or greater, capable of destructive things. And we're seeing something that looks like that here in the Northeast with this one right here. This back in here is where the tornado would be. This is a defined hook echo, and this little circle right over Southbridge, that's where the tornado is. We talked about Southbridge for the last half an hour. It looks like it did hold together. Hopefully the folks there heeded the warnings, and got indoors to a basement or an interior room, and hopefully things will go okay through there in Southbridge. But there are other towns in the path here, so why don't we go over these two cells and give you a heads up if you're down the line with these two cells. Let's start with the one where we know there's a confirmed tornado on the ground right now that caused a lot of damage back to the west in Springfield. That's the Connecticut River right behind me, by the way, with a overturned semi on it. And we saw the tornado itself, pictures from one of our affiliates there, WWLP out of Springfield, the tornado itself cross over the Connecticut River and just pick up all the water. And, you know, you can see the trees there. If you look on the other side of the screen, you can see trees just snapped in half and that kind of thing. All right, let's get back to the single screen so that I can read the towns that are in the path. All right, so it's for this cell right here, which is right over Southbridge and Sturbridge. In Sturbridge, you're probably seeing some very large hail and some damaging wind. The tornado's close. I'm hopeful that it'll stay just south, although it looks like it just took a jog to the north, which is not good. Not good at all. Looks like it took a little jog to the north. Hopefully it jogs back and stays in some farmland. Moving east at about 37 miles per hour. Millville, 6 p.m. North Smithfield, Rhode Island, 6:04. Milford, Mass, 6:05. North Providence, perhaps. Looks like it'll stay north of there at 6:15. But the tornado warning has been extended now for this cell all the way through northern parts of Rhode Island, including Woonsocket most likely, as it moves through the Blackstone Valley next, and maybe scrapes parts of northern Rhode Island and parts of southern Worcester County and maybe parts of Norfolk County there on the southwest side. For the next storm, the one right above it, its sister cell paralleling it as it travels to the east, basically at the same rate of speed. It's moving also at about 35 or 40 miles per hour. Auburn, you're next in about 15 minutes. I'm looking at the clock down here in about 15 minutes. 5:34 Auburn. 5:34 Auburn. This also has a tornado warning with it. At this time, there is not a confirmed tornado on the ground with this storm, but it's quite possible that there is one. It's quite possible that there is one. I'm sorry, say that again? Okay, 6 p.m. Milford. 6 p.m. Milford. 6 p.m. Milford. That's southern Worcester County. 6 p.m. in Milford. 6:04 in Framingham. Closing in, that's in Metro West. 6:04 in Framingham. And 6:20 in Needham. Again, the storm itself is large, okay? There's a lot going on within this storm. You're getting strong winds out ahead of it, the outflow. You probably get a gust of wind to 40, 45, maybe 50 miles per hour from the outflow. It's the air that the storm spits out. It hits the ground, can't go through the ground, it fans out. So you get a cool blast of wind from the outflow out ahead of these storms. Maybe a 5, 10, 15-minute lead time on that. You're also getting intense hail out of these, both storms. And you can see the hail cores right in here, the bright magentas, the pinks, the whites, the bright pinks down in here, just to the east of Southbridge, probably very close to Sturbridge, maybe on